and I've just realized I made a fatal mistake. Go back to the images. So the backtest we did yesterday was assuming we were using the most recent prediction. However, I've noticed on further investigation we were actually using the last one. So for example, let's just find one that's conflicting. Oh, that's still the same. Yeah, like this. So in a backtest like this, I was using up instead of using down. That's what I mean. Let me just redo that, but now using the correct one. To change that in the code, we'll be changing that value here. So this will be the first one, which is the first index. Let me just run a backtest now. We actually now we've moved from 49% to 54%, which is good. So the objective of today's video will be taking parts of the code we had yesterday and then turning that into like a live bot. Let me just show you. I have it running here. So what's happening is this trading bot, I've just called it spike detector, is calling our API and then getting the current prediction and then trying to make a prediction based on that. So that's the objective of today's walkthrough. So much of this code is reused from the last 2 days, so I won't go over it in depth. So what I've done is I have a separate scheduler. So the scheduler runs depending on whichever time frame I'm trying to predict. Let's say we're doing the 1 day. So this scheduler runs at the end of the day. Once the last bar is closed, it immediately runs the model, gets a prediction. Once it gets the prediction is written to a file, a JSON file. I think in future maybe I would use a database, but for now I'm not. So once this is written to a JSON file, I then have a Flask endpoint. So I have a Flask endpoint. So this endpoint is reading from the JSON. It reads from the JSON and then returns the prediction the model made. Now from this endpoint, then I've used MQL5, sorry. So within MQL5, So within MQL5, once a new bar has been formed, I make a request. I end up making a request, make a request to the Flask endpoint, and then this gives me now the prediction. So now the prediction is inside MT5. Within MT5, I'm not just using that blindly. So what I'm doing, I'm also using the 200 EMA to check the direction of the trend. So that's just a very basic check for the trend. Now the good thing about getting this into MQL5 and MT5 is that I can now work with this like I work with any other bot. So I can improve on this strategy by leveraging what the model is saying. The model says let's go up or let's go down, and once the model says we go down and maybe we are below the 200 EMA, now we can take a trade. This can be improved upon by using like many different indicators. But I'm just using the 200 EMA. I was just trying to make like a POC. So this is the plan. This is what is happening. So let me just start with the scheduler. I have a file. It's scheduler.py. So what's happening? I'll just go down. So the scheduler calls upon MT5. We authenticate to MT5. We covered this in the first video. We load the model. But now the difference is, before we were saving this to a CSV, now we are not saving to a CSV. We're just getting rates from the specific time frame we want to use. So for example, this is M1. I've also loaded this on Crash 1000 M1. If I was to do this for Boom 1000 M5, for example, I'll change this here to M5 and then change this symbol. Where's the symbol? To Boom. Yeah. So I get the data from MT5. With that data, I give that data to the model. So for this example, I'm using, this changes a bit from what we were doing yesterday. If you remember yesterday here, we were getting all the data from the past 2 years, drawing a chart, and then within that chart, we were drawing the specific points. Well, by points, I mean the bars. So these bars, yes. So now the difference is we're not going back like 2 years. We're using the current data we've just gotten from MT5. And that's what I have. I just got rid of the fast for loop because now the data I have is just what I want to plot right now. So that's the main change I've done here. And then, of course, the prediction. Yes, prediction, I'm using the 0th one because you saw this is the most recent one. So essentially what this function does is it will return whether the model is saying we go up or down. That's what this whole function does. It's very similar to what we had yesterday. Once I now have the prediction, I save that prediction to the JSON file. So the JSON file is data.json. This is the prediction file, the data.json. So right now, once I write to this, now that's the scheduler is now running on its own, like that is happening on its own. This is the scheduler. This is where I'm running the scheduler on its own terminal. And then now the Flask API endpoint, this is what you have. What I've done is we're getting the prediction. So this is the first function. This function is essentially reading from that data.json. From that data.json is we are taking the prediction time and the prediction. So to make sure that we have already, the model has already made the changes, we check our current time. If the current time now is less than the prediction time, so for example, let me just use like the 1 hour time frame, for example. If right now it's 8 I'm writing the prediction in the data.json as 9, like the prediction time as 9. So that means once we are reading that file and the current time is 8 and 8 is less than 9, that means the model has already finished predicting. But if the model hasn't finished predicting, this is that like race condition where we have to like somehow give the model like a buffer of some seconds to finish. So but if it's 8 right now and what is currently in the data.json is for 7, that means the model is yet to finish making the prediction. So for that, we usually just say the model is not ready. If you can just go back here, you can check, you can see sometimes it doesn't work as well because the model was not yet ready, but sometimes it works. Okay, so that was the first part. Once you get the prediction status, that's what we're returning back to MT5. So now to get into the MT5 code, it's there's not much happening. So what I have is I'm defining our buffer. So these are just methods for the 200 EMA. So if we're to go back to this chart, and then on the expert list and then the properties, so here you can choose to say you want this period to be like period of 10, then here you would want to use the open or close, whatever. And then maybe here you want this to be a simple moving average. You can just change from here. So that's just an example. So that's what's happening here. And then we define the buffer and the handle. We compute the handle on it once the bot is initially loaded. And then I have a function, the get prediction function. So this is what is calling our Flask endpoint. It's running on port 5000 / predict. It's a get request. So once we get this response, now we have a prediction. So that is what you're seeing down here. The prediction was retrieved. That's exactly what's here. The prediction was retrieved. So in case of an error, that would also be printed out. And then now every time a tick happens, so a tick is like, you see this, the smallest change possible. Every time a tick happens, that's the on tick function. So whatever you want to do on whenever a tick happens, that usually comes into this function. So here what I'm doing, I am checking whether we have a new bar. And if we do have a new bar, we now call our model. If you remember the get prediction, this is what is communicating with our Python, the Flask endpoint. So we get the prediction. If the prediction is up or down, then we check the current price, and then we also check the MA200, the value. Yeah. So if the current price is greater than the EMA, so that means, for example, if the price was up here, like here, that means the current price will be greater than the EMA 200, but right now it's below. Why is that code? Yeah. So that means whenever we have an app and the current price is above, so that is our signal to be doing, like, this is where you would probably do like, we need to buy right now. For now, I'm just sending a notification. And then the opposite, when the prediction is down and the current price is EMA value, we sell. Yes, so that is all the code. It's not much, it's very little. And that was what this is how start off this whole project. If I was to turn this into an actual project where I'm using that model, I don't know. So the problem is I can't backtest this on MT5 because of the web request does not work on backtest, unfortunately. So I can't really backtest this in MT5. Maybe the solution will be to write this entire code that I've written in MQ5 and write it in Python so that I can be able to backtest. That will be solution 1. Solution 2 will be to make this into, put this on a VPS and then just let it run live or on a demo account, and then after some time come back and get the win rate. So I'm going to put this on a VPS probably when I wake up, and then I'm gonna let it run for like a few days, maybe over the weekend, maybe have an update on like on Monday and see how it performs. If the model alone is 54%, but that was on the 1 day time frame, maybe I'll go back and do a thorough backtest on like different time frames, different assets, and then once I get a very good combination, put that on a VPS and then backtest that for like a couple of days, see how that goes. If you'd like to see the results of that, make sure to subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the description. I've also linked the finished bot, this bot where you can just use it, but you would have to actually run the Python code, unfortunately. So you can go check out video 1 on how to, I don't even think I set it up, but I did have some links on how you can set it up. Yeah, so I'll see you on the next one.